Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're exploring a highly impactful explainer based on some really comprehensive research out of Cornell University's Center for Teaching Innovation. We are looking at a fundamental shift in how we approach higher education pedagogy, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating. Look, it's the classic anxiety of the modern educator, isn't it? You spend hours, maybe days, crafting the perfect lecture. You stand at the front of the room, you're delivering an absolute masterclass for an hour straight. The students are quiet, they're looking at you, pens are moving, but deep down, you kind of have to ask yourself, are they actually learning the material, or are they just passively absorbing the sound of your voice while thinking about what they're going to eat for lunch? Are those complex ideas really locking into their long-term memory? So to answer that, here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. Defining active learning. 2. Why active learning works. 3. Redesigning your classroom. 4. Getting students on board. And 5. Getting started today. All right, Section 1. Defining active learning, moving beyond the lecture. So before we can build this new pedagogical foundation, we really need to move beyond that traditional one-way street of information delivery. According to Cornell's Center for Teaching Innovation, active learning requires students to step up and engage through 4 specific actions: thinking, discussing, investigating, and creating. And this isn't just some educational buzzword. It's a deliberate shift of the cognitive load. Instead of you, the instructor, doing literally all the heavy lifting by distilling and presenting the information, you're requiring the students to pick up the tools and start building their own understanding in real time. In practice, this means students are actively applying skills. They're solving problems, making decisions, and I absolutely love this phrasing right from the source material, they are struggling with complex questions. Allowing students to actually struggle, to propose solutions, and to explain ideas in their own words is exactly where that deep, permanent learning happens. You're inviting them into the messy, productive process of actual comprehension. Moving right along to Section 2, Why Active Learning Works, the empirical evidence.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the science behind it, because I know before you completely upend your syllabus, you want rigorous proof, right? Well, the benefits here beautifully bridge cognitive science and classroom culture. Physically applying new knowledge literally strengthens neural pathways in the brain. Plus, active learning gives them immediate feedback, meaning students correct their misconceptions right on the spot, instead of, bombing a midterm weeks later. It also builds a genuine sense of classroom community and gives you real-time insight into how they are actually processing the material.
Let's look at the hard data for a second. Back in 2014, Freeman and colleagues published an absolute landmark study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. They found that incorporating active learning strategies into university courses significantly increases student performance, particularly across science, engineering, and mathematics. This isn't just a nice theory. It demonstrably boosts grades and material retention, period. And it actually goes even further than overall performance. A follow-up 2020 study by Theobald and colleagues proved that active learning actively narrows achievement gaps for underrepresented students in STEM fields. So by adopting these methods, you aren't just making your class more engaging, you're fundamentally creating a more equitable, inclusive learning environment where every single student has a better structure to succeed. Okay, Section 3, Redesigning your classroom, the practical shift. I completely get it. There is a ton of friction when it comes to changing a syllabus you've probably perfected over years. But the exciting news is that this is highly actionable. Check out the new rhythm we're aiming for here. Traditionally, you have the wall-to-wall lecture, pure passive absorption. But in the active classroom, notice that you don't have to abandon the lecture entirely. No way. The Cornell guidelines suggest you simply plan to pause your lecture 2 or more times for quick activity. Ask a question, let them chat with a neighbor. It's just about breaking up that passive listening with moments of active, energetic output. Now, to make room for this, you will need to cut some lecture content. I know it's the elephant in the room, but the solution is to move those basic foundational concepts to pre-class reading, or maybe a low-stakes online quiz. Then use your valuable class time for the advanced active application. You can build in accountability with polling questions or exit tickets. And hey, while they work, don't just stand at the podium checking your watch. Move around the room, interact, and give them that timely feedback. Which brings us to Section 4, Getting Students on Board. Overcoming friction. So students are totally used to passively taking notes, right? They might actually resist this heavier cognitive load at first. So how do we overcome that? Cornell provides this fantastic core philosophy: transparency. Treat your students like actual partners in their own education. If they know exactly why you're changing the format and how it directly benefits them, that initial resistance just drops away. So here's your checklist for that crucial first day of class. Step 1, set the expectation immediately in your syllabus that they will be expected to participate. Step 2, explain the why. Connect this method to the real-world skills they're going to need beyond university. Step 3, run a quick icebreaker so they actually get comfortable talking to the people sitting next to them. And step 4, jump into an activity right there on day 1. You want to set a permanent expectation of interaction right from the jump. And part of that transparency involves actually showing them the data. The source text highly recommends sharing a 2019 study by Deslauriers and colleagues. This study is wild because it measures actual learning versus the feeling of learning. Because active learning takes way more cognitive effort, students sometimes feel like they're learning less than when they just sit back and watch a perfectly polished lecture. Showing them this data helps them realize, oh wow, my actual learning and my grades will be significantly higher this way. Finally, Section 5. Getting started today, your next steps.
So the crucial point is, how do you actually take this explainer into your classroom tomorrow? Well, start small. You don't need some massive technological overhaul. Try a simple think, pair, share discussion. Toss out a question, give them a minute to think, have them pair up to discuss it, and then share with the room. It is literally that easy. Beyond that, ask a colleague who already uses these methods if you can sit in and observe. And of course, leverage your local resources. If you happen to be at Cornell, the Active Learning Initiative and the Center for Teaching Innovation are right there to help you redesign your courses.
I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a look at your notes for your very next class. Where can you pause your talking, step back, and shift that cognitive load? What will you ask your students to do in your very next lecture? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this empowers you to create an incredible active learning environment for your students. Catch you next time.